As you know, the Meat Eater live tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.
Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to another Big Buck Breakdown from the Element Podcast. What's happening, all my woods people? I'm sitting in a warm truck right now, to the point that I'm about to be sweating. KC, what are you doing?
Dude, such a similar scenario, except mine is a minivan, so that's cool.
Neither one of these vehicles are our own vehicles, though, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm in a rented minivan, and you're in a borrowed truck, so it's just the way we roll, man. I have on sweatpants and an extra layer on top, and I'm in the sunshine. And it's like 40 degrees outside, but it's 810 in here, and I'm getting hot.
That's exactly. It's cold outside. It's like 40 degrees outside right here, and I'm just in the sun, man, beating on me.
Yeah. Yep. Where are you at, man?
Man, I can't really disclose exactly where I'm at, but I got drawn for a hunt in Texas. That's a pretty good hunt, from what I understand. Not from what I have experienced so far, but that's what I'm up to, and I understand that you have been doing some fishing, I think, right?
I have. I've been doing a lot of familying, but I did get to fish some, fitting in there, and I've been. We're in Aspen, Colorado, which if you've never been here, don't. But
don't be here.
Don't be here. Don't be here. There's other towns that are way cooler and have way less Gucci and Prada signs on the storefronts. But anyway, it's been nice for what it is, especially for the first week of November. But I have gotten to do a little bit of fishing. I caught a little brown trout yesterday, but this morning, here's the thing: when you go on family trips, you're kind of limited on when you can actually go do your thing, you know. Mm-hmm. And everybody in this family sleeps till like 10, so when I get to go is early in the morning because I'm up. Right now, I'm waking up at like 4 a.m. because of the time change and everything. Mm-hmm. Which, if you know much about fishing for trout, like the daylight stuff in the winter or the colder times especially is really tough. Like personally, I like to fish midday and evenings a lot more, but it is what it is. This morning I went to the Frying Pan River, which is probably one of my new favorite rivers. I love the Frying Pan. Mm-hmm. There's some private you got to watch out for, but along with that private comes like some really good fish, and it's a tailwater, so it's kind of consistent temperatures all year long. And I fished for like 45 minutes on like some pocket water, didn't have a lot of great luck. And then we had to go back to get on this phone call. But I kind of gave myself like a 20-minute cushion. You know how I do. I always try to like push it. It's like, okay, if I got another spot to stop, I will. And so I found this one spot that was like right next to the private, kind of a weird little pull-off thing. And I knew there was like a cliff face right there on the river. It would remind you like of that like Eden Hole at Broken Bow. Mm-hmm. I was like, there's going to be a big fish in there. So I cut off all my junk flies, I've been fishing worms and stuff, you know, same on worms because it's wintertime or whatever. And I tied on a streamer, and I went down there, and the first cast I moved a big fish. I was like, oh my goodness, here we go. So the next 5 minutes I like cast in there, and I missed like 3 different big fish. And finally I casted all the way across, did a big mend so that my streamer could sink all the way down, and then stripped through, and then hooked up, big bend in the rod, and I was like freaking out. And ends up it's about a 19-inch slob rainbow, like big, starting to kind of hook nose, I think it's really a hen. Or female, but so it doesn't really have the type, but like their mouths just kind of change shape when they get older because they're predators, and just crazy cool fall colors, just beautiful fish, man. So it kind of made the trip for me, you know. Like it stinks to not be hunting in Texas this week or elsewhere, but you know what, like, it's just, we're doing this all to have fun, and we're trying to be family men, you know, all at the same time. And my family's good to me, and I try to be here for them too. So we've had a good time, man. But
good.
Can't wait to get back and do some public land hunting.
Yeah, I can't wait to. I'll tell you this: I've been doing some public land hunting this year.
Yeah,
quite a bit, and I cannot wait to just kill a deer.
I bet.
You know, like the public land hunting thing is something that I've gotten my fill of, and I definitely like to do it. So I'm not like full, I guess you could say, but you know, figuratively I have my fill of. Yeah, and I'm ready to kill.
Our guest on this Big Buck Breakdown can kind of give you some insight on how to do that, because it seems like he does it way more than anyone even should.
Yep, I think he does. So our guest is a guy that tends to kill bucks on public land in Texas. Maybe he will have some advice for me. Maybe he will. So let's just get him on the phone. This is Dan Beeler.
Hey y'all, real quick before we get to Dan's Big Buck Breakdown, I want to let you know about something really cool I've been doing with my Exodus Lift 2 on my own personal property. I've been running this camera in hybrid mode, which captures a real high quality image and then stacks that right on top of a full HD video. You can watch the video, learn about deer movement behaviors, patterns, different things that are going on in the area you have the camera set up, and then you also have this high quality image that you can save. Now, why I like this feature is because I don't always like to take up a ton of room on my computer or hard drives with all those videos, but I still like to watch them and learn from them. So what I do is watch the video, save the photo, and then note on the photo what's going on at that moment in time. Really cool feature, something I love to use with these cameras. Now let's get to Dan.
Blood in the river, and that's why they call it the red.
All right, so now on the phone we've got Dan Beeler. Dan, you have done the unthinkable, at least for me and KC, actually killing a legal buck on Texas public. On the other end of the spectrum, KC's killed the spike side of the spectrum, but you're on the big buck side of it, dude. And this isn't your first time, man. I mean, this is kind of a common occurrence. It feels like.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think so. It feels like anytime I can shoot something on public land, it kind of hangs around for longer anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sticks with you. So it definitely a big deal to me. I mean, I know it is. Y'all know how it is with people and lack of deer and everything. So getting anything down, even a spike on public land, to me is a big deal.
Yeah, man, it's tough, man. I mean, anywhere you go, it's a tough thing to do. But Texas, just as far as the places I've been, I mean, it's pretty tough. I was telling a guy, he was asking a question on YouTube the other day. He's like, hey, I'm transferring down to Texas. I'm going to start hunting some public land because I don't know anybody down there and this and that. He's like, got any tips for me? And I was like, one of the tips that I put in this response was, if you can see it on the map, then it probably has a stand hanging in it, even if it's way back. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so, and so that just, I don't know. We've walked in so many times to a spot that I'm like, man, this is gonna be good, and it's like a mile and a half back in there, and there's a stand or two in there, and it's like, dadgummit.
Or a Dan Beeler.
Yeah, we saw Dan Beeler, one time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we did meet out there. Yeah,
that's actually how we met. Was on public land. We were hunting the same spot, so pretty cool.
Yeah,
man.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we left that spot alone. I don't know if you still hunted or not, man, but we left that spot alone because we knew that you had been posted up there at some point, and we didn't want to go in there and bother you and any deer you might have been chasing. So thanks for kicking us out. But anyway, Dan, you killed a good buck, man. Tell us the story of this buck, because this is something that's just an anomaly to us, man.
Well, I think I probably had some of the same problems y'all had last year. Just hunters everywhere. Some spots that maybe hadn't had a whole lot of hunters in them years before, but like one morning I sat in my stand and throughout the morning had 6 hunters walk within 100 yards of me. So that was the worst day, but it was kind of the same thing every single day. In fact, I don't know how much public land hunting I did, how many days, but I think of all the days that I hunted public land in Texas last year, I don't think I saw legal deer. So it was really, really slow. And the rumors are true, that's for sure. So this year I decided I'd get out and look for some new spots and everything, and actually ran into kind of like what you were just talking about. There was places I picked out almost a single tree on a map and said, I'm going to walk and see what it looks like basically at this tree, and would find stands at the exact place I was looking for on the map. Mm-hmm. And got out there, hung some trail cameras pretty early, August-ish. And that proved to be useless as usual. No, it's absolutely pointless. Yeah. And I'll probably do it again next year for some dumb reason.
You're just like us, or we're just like you, yeah. One or the other.
Yeah, I don't know why I get out there. And I stepped on a water moccasin out there this year. Like literally, I looked down and hanging out from under my boot was the tail of a water moccasin. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Dude, I wouldn't have needed any sticks or a climber or nothing. I would have been up in the tree if that had happened. Yeah. I've been ready to hunt.
I wasn't too happy about it. I don't think he was either. But, So I had a couple different spots this year where I put some cameras out, and I was getting lots of bucks on camera, but they were all spikes, little 4 points that aren't legal. And I think I had 2 legal deer up until I shot this deer on the 26th of October, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think up until then I had 2 legal bucks on camera, and this is one of them. And he's got a split G2 on his left side, and so he's pretty recognizable in the pictures. So he's actually really regular. I had him one night on camera 3 times within an hour going the exact same direction in front of the camera. I don't know if he was going circles around the tree or what he was doing. But I had sometimes I'll put 2 cameras in the same area, pretty close to each other if I think there's deer in there. So like this area where I shot him, there's not necessarily a trail that goes through there, but I know from seeing deer and from pictures of deer that there's a lot of deer that kind of move through there in different spots. And so what I'll do if I'm hunting a spot like that a lot of times is I'll hang a camera in there and kind of get an idea. And if I decide I want to hunt in there, I'll put another one sometimes as close as like 20 yards away. And so basically what I'm trying to do is get a better idea of how they're coming in or out of that area, instead of just, I know he's right here at this, at this one spot. But you don't know what he's doing left or right of the frame, right? Right. Or behind it. So that's what I did in this spot. And that night that he was 3 times in front of that camera, he wasn't on the other one that was 20 yards away. He was never on it. So to me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If the same deer is not on that camera, that just tells you that they're not walking that way. Mm-hmm. So I kind of use that to learn a little bit about what's going on. Just had an ambulance driver out past me. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So I bet I had this deer, I don't know, maybe every 3rd day for a couple weeks in October. So like I said, he was really regular. And so I thought if I could get a good wind and get in there and hunt, it was kind of just a matter of time, really, till he'd show up. And the day I went in there, the wind was, it wasn't great. But then again, on public land, sometimes if the wind's not great, you just turn around and hunt the other direction. So, I mean, you got to play the wind, but at the same time, you don't know where a hunter's going to come from or something like that. So, it wasn't great. It was kind of off the back of my right shoulder. And I thought he was going to come out at about my 1 o'clock or so. And I walked in that morning. There'd been no moon that night. It had been raining all night. Walked in that morning. It was sprinkling just barely, which I love hunting when it's raining, actually, especially after a rain. And I was really surprised that I didn't spook any deer going in there. It was probably 1.5 miles or so in, and didn't spook any deer. Didn't see any deer. So I was sitting there like 7:30 in the morning, probably 15 minutes or so after sunrise, and kind of sitting there depressed. Couldn't believe I hadn't seen anything, even does or anything. And I look up, and he's walking out exactly where I thought he was going to, at probably 35 yards. And from the time I first saw him till I shot, it happened really fast. I'd be really surprised if it was more than like 8 or 9 seconds from when I looked at him till I grabbed my bow and let it fly.
Wow.
It was super fast. Basically, he walked out. I was like, yep, he's legal. Grabbed my bow, drew back, kind of cocked my head to the left, look at him one more time, and I thought I saw that little split on his G2. And so stopped him, and he was perfectly broadside to me. He didn't have any care in the world, didn't know I was there at all. He did stop. I grunted at him, but I shot him. I'm not 100% sure yet, or I guess I never will be, what happened with this shot. It sounded a little funny. I need to shoot. I haven't shot with bows, and I hadn't been hunting or anything, but it sounded a little funny traveling through the air. Like it was making a little more noise than normal. When it hit him, I was a little far back, which was actually my fault. I was just kind of aiming that direction. But, yeah, I mean, it sounded like somebody punched a watermelon, so I knew the shot was pretty good. But it didn't pass through, and it was a 30-yard shot. I was using a 2-inch Grim Reaper. I think every deer I've ever shot with one of those has been a pass-through, pretty much no matter where I hit them. So I was a little shocked when that happened. He ran off with the arrow sticking out of him. He ran about 80 yards or so, and kind of was back broadside to me again, kind of made half a circle. And he went behind some small cedar trees and little saplings and stuff, and disappeared behind those and never came out the other side. So I was pretty sure he was down right there, but I was a little worried because, like I said, it was sprinkling, and I thought some more rain might be coming. So I probably only hung out in the stand for about 2 minutes before I decided to get down and go to where I shot him, see if I could find some blood. I didn't really want to waste too much time, and it was so quiet in there from the rain that I didn't think, I wasn't worried about him hearing me walking around or anything like that. So walked over there, looked around for 5 minutes, couldn't find a drop of blood anywhere. Had a camera. He was actually what I thought was right in front of the camera when I shot him. So I went and checked the card real quick to see where he was standing. And it didn't take a picture of him, of course. So then I went back over there, and I'm standing. I'm kind of second guessing where he was at, but I knew like there was a small little trail right there. I was like, I know he had to be right here. I'm kind of getting depressed at this point. All the bad thoughts are creeping into my mind. Got my head down, kind of hunched over, and I looked down in between my feet, and there's a massive pile of blood right like in between my feet. About as close as that water moccasin was. And so I followed the blood trail for probably 10 yards, and I thought I could see a white belly through some trees. But at this point, it hadn't been very long, so I just stood there for another 20 minutes or so. I didn't have any binoculars, but I had my rangefinder, so I was looking through my rangefinder. It never did move, and so I was kind of wondering if it was a log or not. So I followed the blood trail a little bit longer to where I got a little closer. I was probably 60 yards from him when I could tell it was him. And so the shot, like I was saying with the shot, still not 100% sure what happened on the entrance. It didn't pass through, but to make matters worse, when he fell, I don't know if he had kind of wiggled that arrow out a little bit or what happened, but when he fell, he landed on the knock of the arrow and pushed it back through his guts. And so then I had a mess.
Yeah.
You always hear people, it always makes me laugh. People are like, oh, yeah, I shot this deer, and I never found him, but the broadhead deflected off of one of his ribs, and like, how do you know what happened? You didn't find the deer. I found this buck. I still don't know what happened. And anyway, so yeah, he was. He's like an 8-point frame, I guess. But he is an 8-point, but he's got a split G2 on his left side. missing a G3 on that side.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I was pretty far back there, and I know this won't make no sense. I'm too cheap for a cart, but I got a XO mountain gear pack. So those two things don't really go together, but I hauled him out of there. I ended up having to gut him. He was full of acorns and everything. And so I strapped him on my XO pack and hauled him out of there that way. And
did you haul him out whole?
Yeah, whole.
Nice.
And
a picture of that, because that's cool.
I might have a selfie of that. I don't know. But I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I've hauled 110 pounds of elk meat before. That was not just from a weight standpoint, but from a balance standpoint, was way easier than this.
I imagine.
Because he was swaying side to side. I'm not kidding you. It took me, I bet it took 6 or 7 minutes for me to stand up when I got this backpack on. I was like, I had a tree in between my legs and I was hugging onto it, trying to pull myself forward. And yeah, it wasn't easy, that's for sure. And so I ended up weighing him. He was gutted. He was 152 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Which was, I've never actually weighed a buck from this area, and I would have guessed like 130.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's a 3-year-old, so I would have guessed about 130. But yeah, he's 152, and so then
wow,
that made my legs hurt even more when I read that.
Good buddy.
Man, that's awesome, dude.
He's like I said, I mean, he's plenty good for me on public land. You know, I'll shoot deer like that every time.
Oh man, he's a toad, and it's like I'm right there with you. When you sent me, I was like, "Dadgummit, Dan Beeler killed a public land buck, and it's a toad." Dude, and again, huge congrats, man, because it's just so cool to see, you know, good people, you know, have good things happen to them, and I know that you put the work in to make it happen, and it's pretty self-evident when you talk about how much trail camera work and how far back in you were and packing them out and all that stuff. But you know, with those trail cameras and stuff, it kind of gave you some confidence to make some moves, and you killed that buck for, like, at least me and Tyler, really early in the year for public, because I mean, we've gone and done quite a bit of October hunting, don't get me wrong, but we have a tough time until, you know, really mid-November gets here on Texas public. And then I know you talked about how pressure last year was just terrible, and we kind of saw the same thing. Which one of those factors kind of played in more to, you know, you going in there and getting that done kind of earlier in the season? Was it the looming pressure in hunting that comes in November, or was it something else?
Well, no, that's part of it. Definitely there's more pressure in November, but
yeah,
to be honest with you, I seem to get a lot of good pictures like the week of October, starting like October the 15th or so. Mm-hmm. And it's been that way for, you know, a few years. And it only lasts about a week. So I was actually glad that I didn't pull the cards out of my cameras, when I went in there that morning, because the last time I'd been in there was like probably 8 or 9 days before that to check those cameras. And since I had checked them the time before, on 2 cameras, I had 1 spike on the camera, and that was it.
Ooh.
So, and I've seen that pattern a few years in multiple different areas, where I'll get a lot of pictures of bucks grouped up together the week of October 15th, 16th, and then the week of the 22nd, 23rd, it drops off dramatically. And I'm not going to sit here and say I know why. I really don't have a clue. I don't know if it's just the spot or if it's they're doing something different, you know, or if they're just avoiding the spot for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's just a pattern I've seen. So, and you know, I've seen groups. I've seen a group of 5 bucks running together as late as October 28th or 9th, within probably 10 miles of this spot I was hunting. And so I honestly thought he would be with another buck. And on camera, he had been with a little small, not legal 6-point every time he'd come through. But that morning, he was by himself. So that kind of caught me off guard. But really, it was the fact that I thought I thought I might get a group of bucks that was still together come cruising through there or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what do you assume that deer was doing when he came through there that morning? Was he getting kind of where he was cruising and that kind of thing, or do you think he was feeding on oaks or under the oaks or what?
Yeah, I think he was probably feeding. I mean, he didn't, and who knows, but he didn't really, from what I could tell, he didn't really have any signs of like he was, on a trail or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, he hadn't been eating anything but acorns. I mean, there was no corn, no green, no anything in his belly except for acorns.
Wow.
And where I was sitting is in a bunch of oak trees. And I get pictures of deer hanging out in there for 30 minutes or so eating at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my guess, but that's as good as it is as a guess.
Yeah. Would you say that you're targeting the oaks where you're hunting there, or are you targeting just deer traveling through a specific area?
No, really, I'm targeting deer traveling through an area. So
Gotcha.
my strategy is that sure, deer have to eat, but they spend more time getting to where they're going to eat and getting back than when they're actually eating.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like my chances are better trying to figure out how the deer are using the land, how they're using this patch of woods,
mm-hmm.
merging into this creek or whatever, than trying to figure out, they're feeding on this, well, I'm going to go sit on this. You know what I mean?
Man, that's pretty interesting. That's something that like we've done, but I hadn't really ever thought of it that way. Exactly. Like you always, I don't know, you hear a lot of hunting media based around whitetails that includes either bedding or feeding, one or the other, and then how do you get in between that or close to one or the other. And you don't really hear a lot about just, you know what, I don't know where he's bedding, I don't know where he's feeding, but I know that deer use this area a lot and they walk through here a lot because of trail cameras, so I'm gonna hunt it, and that's kind of what we are, I guess you could say, plagued with in Texas a lot of times when you're hunting public land, is this idea that like there's oak trees everywhere. Like how do you target a specific oak that the deer are eating under? I mean, there are times when maybe you can do that to an extent, but it doesn't matter because there's always a post oak or a swamp oak that's putting off, if the acorns have been put off, the tannins have finally diminished enough that they want to eat them or whatever. Like it's so much information to process, and there's no, even I'm sure you know this, but like it's hard to find a bedding area. I mean, they just go into thick stuff. Whatever.
I never know where they're bedded.
Oh yeah,
I mean, never.
So it's interesting, man. I like that, and I like your use of the trail camera strategy there, even though your camera doesn't always go off when deer come through. But congrats, man, with that deer, man, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to trying to make happen this year. I've never shot a public land Texas deer, so I'm hard after it right now, and will be later in this month, and hope to have a little bit of that luck. So congrats, man. It's an awesome buck.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on the phone with us, man, and keep in touch.
All right, yeah, y'all too. Good luck.
All right, see you, Dan.
Well, Dan is for sure a killer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm starting to question. I used to think that I was, but I'm starting to question that now. You and I have been seen by a lot of deer this year.
We have, man. And that's kind of a new thing. And then people on YouTube want to rage us because they think blind deer are seeing us too. So that's fun. But let's get here to there.
Oh, yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. Man, it's just when you're pushing the limits, it's going to happen. But I think that you got to, the difference in that is that you're going to spook some deer, but you got to make sure and capitalize the times you don't spook deer. And I think that's that. Maybe not that we need to do a better job of that, but we just need to make sure and ensure that happens throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Did you get seen recently?
Yeah, I did. And you know that, you just don't know the story. This morning, I'm coming in and I'm there as early as you and I, as early as I've hunted this year, except for the day we moved stands.
Yeah.
And I already have my stand set and everything. Like I'm good. It's dark. I'm walking in with my headlamp, and I get to, where I'm hunting, but it's like a semicircle of trees that's kind of just adjacent to a big chunk of trees, and there's a north and south trail that goes down the east side of it. And so I'm coming in from the west, and I get to 50 yards from my stand, and I got a pretty bright headlamp, and I can see eyes. And so I'm like, dadgummit, it's right there, like 40 yards from my stand on the east trail, east and west, or the north and south trail on the east side. And I start to get closer, and I'm like, man, those eyes are pretty far apart. Like, this is, it's either a big doe, which I jumped coming in yesterday, or a buck, So anyway, I got like 40 or 50 yards left to go. I just take my light and try to blind that sucker. I don't take my head off. I don't look over at my stand. I keep my head pointed in the direction of that deer.
Hey, that works. I've done that before. It works.
Yeah. I don't want the deer to see me. And if I have the light, on the ground in front of me, it's going to see my silhouette, So I just point my light at it and go all the way to the tree. And then I turn my light off when I get there, clip my bow on, climb up as quiet as I can. I get dressed, do all the stuff that I'm supposed to do, set the camera up and everything. And I do it really quietly. And it's pretty cold this morning, but it is so calm, dude. It is nothing, no wind. And could have heard a mouse down on the ground, just walking real slow. It was just crazy quiet. And so, I kind of get ready. I get my hands in my pocket, and it's starting to get light finally. And I can kind of see a little bit. So I turn around real slow. But to see behind me on the other side of this tree line, I have to shift my feet. So I do it slow. Yeah. And when I get them shifted around and turn my head at 50 yards, there's a legal buck. And by legal, I mean a pretty good buck. I don't know how big. I haven't even looked at the footage yet, because I got a little bit of footage of him from a long distance. But legal being, per the public land rules in Texas.
Yeah,
so
outside ears kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he looked pretty tall as well. And anyway, he was looking right at me, and he ran off. He blew 2 or 3 times, but every time that he looked back, he never looked in my direction again. So I just don't know that he saw me very good. Yeah. And then he gets out there 150 yards, and he starts walking back to me, and it's calmed down, it looks like.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And so I'm like, is this sucker trying to bed in here? And he's wanting to come back, he didn't see me good enough. And so he's coming or whatever. And then finally he starts kind of going to the left. And then I look, he goes behind a tree branch in the camera viewfinder. So I start to move the camera. And so I take my eyes off of him for a second. And when I look back, he's gone. And so I take the camera around, don't see him in the viewfinder. And then I look up, and I'm like, where is this dude? He's out in the open. I should be able to see him. And I had he had been looking, so I didn't want to move much. So anyway, I finally had the nerve to get my binos up. He was probably 120 yards, and I could not find him with the binos. So I was like, did he bed down here? And I had to go back and watch the footage 10 minutes later and figure out that he kind of took off on a jog to the left and just disappeared. I don't know where he went. So,
I wonder if he saw a doe or something.
I don't know. I think he was just still shook up and everything.
But weird.
Man, I don't know. It's just frustrating because I saw him, and then I had a doe. I rattled a doe in later on. Came out at 40 yards. I was about to smoke her, and she couldn't get her to come all the way in because a coyote. Yeah. I also rattled a coyote in at the same time.
Oh my goodness!
So that was fun. So she saw it and never would come over close to me. But
dumb man.
It's kind of a long way to say that I've had a lackluster hunt so far, even though I've seen what appears to be 2 shooter bucks and on both days. It's just they were kind of long distance, Well, I guess one of them was. So,
well, dude, I hope you. You got one close this morning, so you just keep pushing and keep closing in on it. It'll happen for you, dude. You're hunting a good spot and you're a good hunter. So,
thanks.
I think it can happen for sure. I feel good about it.
I hope you're right, man.
I feel like you've got some more intel too that's going to lead you towards some big buckies.
Yeah. I hope so, man. I'm going to move stands this afternoon, so we will see we'll see what happens tonight, and I sure would love to have some success because I've hunted a lot of days so far this year and have not loosed an arrow. So anyway, well, as far as that goes, we are at a pretty much standstill on the video content. I'm struggling to not be hunting long enough to edit videos. So if it's not church or hunting, I'm kind of pretty much I don't have one of those days. So
yeah, exactly. There's no third option.
There's no third option. Yeah. So I haven't edited any footage yet, but there's some pretty good footage on the dock, and we're just I just need a couple days. So if I can tag out now and get a couple of days before we head up to Kansas, man, that'd be great. But who knows what's going to happen? And I'm going to just try to have a good spirit about it and just enjoy this hunt, man, because it may be a long time before I draw it again. Who knows? It's Texas, man.
That's
never
right,
know.
dude. Well, good luck at that, and I can't wait to get up to Kansas and hunt with you.
All right, man. Well, I guess I'll see you then. And we do. Let's see. Thursday, we've got
Iowa recap.
That's right. Yeah. I knew we had something. So the Iowa recap's coming Thursday. So I hope you guys can be inspired by that and enjoy that story, I guess, more than I enjoyed putting it together. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you listening. Remember, this is your element.
Living it.
Well, I can see it cross and it still looks the same. It's a rain.
As you know, the Meat Eater live tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.